The central United States is in recovery mode after a huge winter storm caught many people off guard. Coming up, we'll have a look at the effects of the storm here on campus and across the state of Texas.
As last week's storm came to an end, one Texas Tech team began a new season after nearly a year away from competition. We have scores and highlights from Texas Tech's baseball's opening weekend and the college baseball showdown.
And sports and recreation have been one consistent form of escape from classwork and the stresses of the pandemic here on campus since the university reopened back in August. And there's one new sport that you might not be aware of that's taking the campus by storm.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Monday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Patricia Perry.
And I'm Anakin Rayos.
The Texas Tech campus is back in session today after a week of history making weather conditions and campus closures. 2 weeks ago, the Lubbock area began experiencing a drop in temperatures due to a weather phenomenon called a polar vortex. Over the course of that week, conditions went from mild to extreme, with temperatures ranging from the low 60s to 0 degrees. Along with the cold snap, the Tech campus also experienced several rounds of snow, with accumulations close to 3 inches. Wind chill factors made conditions even worse, making it feel as cold as negative 20 degrees last weekend. In response to the severe winter weather, the university closed campus on Monday and Tuesday, but by Wednesday a new concern arose as the Texas power grid began experiencing record-breaking loads, leading to rolling blackouts and power failures. Calls by energy providers to conserve power led the university to make the decision to close campus the rest of the week until temperatures finally started to climb above freezing on Friday morning.
This past week's unbelievable weather event left many forecasters baffled by the severe changes that occurred in a matter of hours. So how historical was the effect of last week's polar plunge? MCTV's Madison Hartin joins us in the studio with a look at the record-breaking numbers from the last week and a half. Madison?
Thanks, Anakin. Well, historic truly is a good word to describe it. I think another good way to describe the weather of the past week is truthfully snowmageddon. We don't often experience cold weather like this here on the South Plains. We do get cold, but we don't often experience consistent cold and polar temperatures like we have seen over the past few days. So we are seeing weather here on the South Plains like we have not seen in a very long time. Our lowest temperature that we recorded on the South Plains was February 14th and 15th, with our lowest temperature being 0 degrees. Now, that record hasn't been broken since 1989. That is a 32-year record that has been standing, which is nothing compared to our other record that we're experiencing right now, which is from 1982 and 1983, with 7 days in a row below freezing. That is 7 consecutive days with below freezing temperatures. So 1983 is a long time for a record to stand, but I'm glad we finally got to break it, although I did not enjoy the cold that we experienced over the last few days. And along with this cold weather came winter precipitation. Now, Lubbock locally here experienced about 3.4 inches of snow, and Friona out there experienced 6.5 inches of snow, which is the greatest total we saw across the South Plains. I'm a little bit jealous of Plainview, however, that only got 1.6 inches of snow. Compared to what Friona got, that is absolutely nothing. Plainview, what is your secret to avoiding this polar vortex? I've got to know. But we did see cold temperatures across the South Plains, so no one was truthfully immune from this. We can see Lubbock locally and Lubbock County experience some cold temperatures, but almost everywhere on the South Plains was experiencing temperatures at or below 0 degrees, or at least around there. So everywhere it was consistently freezing cold, a little bit windy, and was experiencing winter precipitation. So not a fun couple days to be around here on the South Plains. Well, hopefully snowmageddon and the polar vortex has moved out of our area and we won't be seeing any winter conditions for the next couple days at least, and we can finally get into more spring-like conditions. For MCTV Weather, back to you, Anakin.
Thanks, Madison. The history-making weather conditions may have been the big story last weekend, but by midweek, the headlines that took the nation by storm revolved around the massive failures of Texas' primary power grid. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, is a network of energy providers that make up more than 90% of the state's power grid. ERCOT services more than 25 million customers in almost every major city in Texas, with Lubbock being a notable exception. Early last week, as temperatures began to drop below normal across the entire state, ERCOT's energy load increased beyond the grid's capacity. ERCOT instituted rolling blackouts that resulted in some customers losing power for hours at a time. Failures at power plants due to a lack of winterizing of equipment also led to some areas not having power for days. The lack of electricity led to multiple issues, including the deaths of more than 30 people due to the cold, carbon monoxide poisoning, and even failure of essential medical appliances. Even as some areas begin to thaw out, the effect of the lack of electricity became more evident as previously frozen pipes began to burst. Some large metropolitan areas have even been forced to boil water due to failures at water treatment facilities.
As Anakin just mentioned, one portion of the state that didn't face major blackouts was the Lubbock area. Lubbock was spared from many of the issues seen across Texas due to the city being on a different power grid. Lubbock's main electrical provider, Lubbock Power and Light, is currently part of the Southwest Power Pool. The SPP's service area starts just south of Lubbock and extends through the central United States, ending at the Canadian border. Unlike most power providers in the ERCOT grid, many plants in the SPP experience below freezing and sub-zero temperatures throughout the winter. Those facilities were better prepared for last week's cold snap, and that led to less outages and rolling blackouts. In fact, the SPP only issued an order for rolling blackouts last Monday and Tuesday, and both orders only lasted for less than 4 hours each. Lubbock Power and Light is currently working through a plan to transition to the ERCOT power grid this summer. The official date of the switch would be on June 1st.
So with all the craziness of the last week, how did tech students handle the cold and a week away from campus? MCTV's Patricia Williams had a chance to speak with several students in the middle of the madness.
After 5 full days away from campus due to last week's weather, Texas Tech students shared their thoughts and feelings about the snow, their safety, and schoolwork.
It was honestly kind of stressful for a lot of people. I work in the residence halls, so preparing residents for that was really stressful and challenging because losing power in a building with 1,000 people is really stressful and hard.
I just didn't really want to get out at all. Like, some people were risking it. I think I went out like 1 or 2 times before, like when it was really, really bad, just to get groceries. But, I was just staying at home, trying to make sure, like school, like with the due dates, that was just the worst, So I wasn't really traveling around too much. I was just kind of sitting at home when the roads were bad. Now I'm just kind of dealing with the aftermath of like, a couple of my classes had projects that were due Sunday. Now they're due Wednesday, like stuff like that. It's kind of just a big deal.
Mentally, it made me very lazy. Honestly, it made me not want to do anything because it was just cold, and whenever you're cold, you just want to be in bed, snuggled up. So that's what happened to me. And but physically, nothing really. I guess it just kind of like drained me in a way that made me lazy.
On the first day, I was just excited to not have to go to work because I didn't want to be out in the cold. And then by like Monday, Tuesday, I was like, oh, like it's fun. It's just snow outside. We can go outside and play with the dog, whatever. But then by like Wednesday, I was kind of tired of being at the house. Like I don't really like being at home all day. But by then I was able to go back to work. So that was the only like outing I had. So yeah, initially it was exciting, but then kind of like get cabin fever. It didn't really affect me too much to not have school. I only have like on-campus classes on Monday, and they just moved mine to online. So I didn't really miss any of my classes. The only thing that happened is like some assignments got pushed, like an exam that I was supposed to have last week got pushed to this week.
School is back in session today, but there's no word if last week's closures will have any effect on this semester's calendar, including the already announced wellness days. For MCTV, I'm Patricia Williams.
With the sub-zero temperatures behind us, does that mean that spring-like conditions will be sticking around here on the South Plains? MCTV's Madison Hartin joins us in the studio with the latest look at this week's forecast. Madison?
Thanks, Patricia. Well, hopefully our winter conditions are behind us, and at least for the next few days, we will be experiencing some more spring-like conditions here on the South Plains, which it really is a welcome change. You can see behind me on our MCTV tower cam that most of the snow behind us has melted, revealing this big, beautiful blue sky as well as some warmer temperatures. For today, our high temperature climbed all the way up to 66 degrees, which honestly feels like 90 after the cold week that we had last week, with sunny and windy conditions with the wind coming from the southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. As we move into this evening, however, that wind is going to start to dissipate, coming only from the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. We are going to be seeing a drop below freezing again, but we don't have much moisture in the air, so don't worry. I don't think think we have to worry about any freezing temperatures and some freezing precipitation, at least not for tonight. Looking at the South Plains as a whole for this evening, we're going to be seeing some freezing temperatures across the board. Of course, in Lubbock locally, we're in the lower 30s, but out there to the northwest of us, we're actually going to be seeing temperatures brought back into the 20s, with Dimmitt being 27 degrees. So it is still cold here on the South Plains, but it is warming up with the day, at least if the sun is out during the day. For tomorrow, as we see the sun start to creep out again, we are going to be seeing temperatures climb back up into the 70s again, which is a little bit more par for the course for this time of year, especially with March fast approaching. Some more spring-like conditions here for the South Plains, with cooler temperatures as we start to move into tomorrow evening, with temperatures dropping back down into the 30s, but that is pretty standard for this time of year, to have cooler temperatures in the evenings and early mornings, with the temperature slowly starting to rise throughout the day as the sun starts to come out. Now, bringing it back into Lubbock locally, we're going to see for Tuesday windy conditions again, with the wind coming from the west by southwest at 20 to 30 miles per hour, with higher wind gusts possible. So it is going to be very gusty out there that day. But we have a high temperature of 73 to look forward to and a low temperature of 38. For Wednesday, we are going to be seeing another round of sunny skies with a high temperature of 53 degrees, a low of 30, and a northeasterly wind coming at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Now Thursday is the day where it starts to see a little bit of changes here for the area. A high of only 38 degrees, a low of only 28, northeasterly wind coming at 10 to 20 miles per hour, and the skies are going to be overcast for that day with a little bit of moisture coming into the area due to a front. So we could see another chance of precipitation and possibly winter precipitation again, but hopefully if this is not another polar vortex and we won't be seeing any winter-like conditions, especially not compared to what we saw last week. For MCTV Weather, I'm Madison Hartin. Back to you, Anakin.
Thanks, Madison. After experiencing one of the longest off seasons of all Texas Tech sports, the Red Raider baseball team was finally back in action this weekend. But after nearly a year off the diamond, the team found themselves needing to shake off some rust as they faced three of the top teams in the nation. On Saturday, Texas Tech met with number 8 ranked Arkansas in the first game of the College Baseball Showdown at Globe Life Field in Arlington. Redshirt freshman Patrick Monteverde pitched 4 scoreless innings in his debut with the Red Raiders, but the Razorbacks' bats lit up as the bullpen took over. Arkansas went on to score 13 runs over the next 5 innings. The Razorbacks held Tech to 9 runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th and shut out the Red Raiders in the 8th and 9th to finish out with the win. On Sunday, Tech hoped to rebound with a win as they took on number 6 ranked Ole Miss for only the 3rd time in school history. The Red Raiders opened up the scoring in Sunday's matchup with a 2-run homer by Nate Rombach in the 2nd. Ole Miss put up 5 runs in the 3rd, and Tech's pitching kept the Rebels' bats quiet after that. Unfortunately, the Red Raiders could only get 2 more runs across the plate in the 6th and 9th, and Tech fell short with the final score of 4-5. Texas Tech is finishing out their first weekend of play with a showdown with number 7 Mississippi State in Arlington. The Red Raiders are currently took on the Bulldogs starting at 11 a.m. this morning, and the current score in Arlington has Mississippi State leading 8-5 in the top of the 9th.
Last week's winter storm led to cancellations for the Texas Tech men's basketball team, which only adds to an unusual season already affected by COVID-19. The Red Raiders had to postpone 2 games previously scheduled against TCU, but they were back in action on Saturday. Tech took on number 23 Kansas in Lawrence with hopes of getting back in the win column after a loss a week and a half ago against West Virginia. Unfortunately, the Jayhawks had other plans for the number 15 ranked Red Raiders, taking home the win 67-61. The loss dropped Tech to 6-6 in conference, putting them at .500 for the season and knocking the Red Raiders into 7th place in the Big 12. Tech is hoping to get back on track and avenge an overtime loss from early in the season as they head north to meet up with Oklahoma State tonight. The Red Raiders versus the Cowboys is scheduled for 8 p.m. in Stillwater, and you can catch all the action on ESPN.
The Lady Raider basketball team escaped last week's polar plunge without any cancellations. Since the team did not have a midweek game on the schedule, after a week away from the court, Tech headed back to the United Supermarkets Arena on Saturday for the last home game of the season. The Lady Raiders welcomed the Kansas Jayhawks to town to close out their home schedule with a victory. The game went down to the wire as both teams went back and forth during the last minutes of regulation. A 3-pointer by Lexi Gordon with 31 seconds left in the 4th tied things up and pushed the game into overtime. In overtime, Tech went on a 9-point run before the Jayhawks even got back on the board. From there, the Lady Raiders held on into the last minute of play, escaping with a 1-point win, 99-98. Tech heads back out onto the road this week, taking on Kansas State in Manhattan on Wednesday for their second to the last Big 12 matchup. Tip-off for Wednesday's game is set for 6:30 p.m. with TV coverage on Big 12 Now on ESPN+.
Speaking of sports, with campus back open again, students looking for an escape from classwork have several competition-based options at the university's on-campus recreation center. Anakin made a stop by the rec right before last week's storm hit to find out about a new craze that's become a popular option during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'm here again at the Robert H. Ewald Recreation Center to take an in-depth look at a unique yet familiar-looking sport named pickleball.
Ever since the fall semester of 2020, students who come to the rec center have noticed the downstairs basketball courts be taken over by pickleball nets, having many students confused yet wanting to try out the new sport.
So my friend and I actually always come to work out, and we always see people playing, and we thought it was really fun, but we've been really scared to play because we're not very coordinated in that way, but we just had to try.
With a unique name like pickleball, students could be confused about what the actual sport is about, but in reality, pickleball actually draws parallels to a sport we're more familiar with.
I think it's indoor tennis, I would say, but not as hard. I think tennis is so hard, and this was so much fun. It's fun tennis, fun indoor tennis.
Now, most people are concerned with fair play involving sports, and pickleball is definitely no exception. Thankfully, the TTU Rec staff have posted this QR code for you to scan on your phone to see all the rules and regulations about pickleball. While pickleball is a unique change of pace for activities at the rec center, some students do miss the classic action of indoor basketball and volleyball.
I think for now, as long as it's temporary, I think it's really fun. I do like playing basketball and volleyball, so I kind of wish that I had that opportunity. But I mean, it's fun, and everybody seems to enjoy it.
Only time will tell if the rec center will switch the courts back to the original sports, but if you're interested or want to stay updated on any activities for the rec center, you can visit their website at recsports.ttu.edu. For MCTV News, I'm Anakin Rayos.
So Anakin, have you had a chance to try out pickleball?
No, I have not, but it does look interesting when I'm getting them gains at the gym. How about you, Patty?
Haven't had a chance yet, just heard about it, but I'll have to go down there. That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you on Thursday.